I'm in Adobe Lightroom. I want to get from this image to this one. Here's how it's done. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom, and I want to turn this rather ordinary looking color image into something a bit more dramatic and moody in black and white. But straight away I can see there are a couple of things I need to fix first, and one of those is the skewed horizon. I like to work on a basis of fixing the worst things first, and to me that is the worst thing right now. So let's deal with that. And I think the easiest way is going to be with the crop tool. So if I switch to the crop tool, I can just move the mouse pointer over a corner handle and just drag and straighten this up by eye. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that, really. I think that's about right. The verticals look okay. We're done. We can go back to editing. Okay, so the next thing is that sky looks overexposed, and I don't know whether there's enough detail in the sky for Lightroom to recover. There's a quick way to find out, and that's with the auto button. I do this quite a lot. I click auto, see what Lightroom does, and that gives me an idea whether the image has enough detail where I want it to carry on, and I think this one does. So the next thing I want to do is go to black and white, and I could click the black and white button in the sidebar here. I tend to like to use profiles though, and if we open a profile menu, browse all profiles, Adobe has quite a few of its own, but I have a collection of Latify.me profiles, which it's a paid for profile collection, but it's not very dear, and there are a lot to choose from, and a whole section for black and white. I'll open that. We get a nice preview of how they look, and I can just mouse over a few of them to choose one that's got the right look to start with, and I think this one does. It's BW Bellium, and if I click on that, I can then click the back button at the top of the sidebar to go back to regular editing. So we're getting somewhere. There are still a couple of issues, and I think the most obvious one is that the sky is still too bright. So I think I might be able to fix that with a mask. So we'll go to the mask panel, click on sky, give Lightroom a moment. Well, it didn't take long to analyze the image and find the sky. If I move the mouse over that area, it highlights it with this overlay. So that looks like a pretty good sky mask. We'll go with that. So let's try reducing the exposure. Okay, that's all right. It's got a little bit muddy. I'm going to push the whites up a little bit. So I don't know. I think the whole thing, the sky's better. So I don't know. I think the sky's better, but the whole image is still lacking a little something. So I'm going to go back to the regular edit panel that disables the mask and think again. And I'm wondering whether what I need here on the whole image is the dehaze slider, and this can quickly wreck a color image, but you can get away with a lot in black and white, and well, that's exactly what I intend to do. I'm going to wind it up to maximum, and I like this result a lot more. Might even give the clarity a little nudge as well. Now this is much more like it. Okay, so there's only one more thing I think I need to do here, and that is to lighten up the underside of the pier, which is pretty dark and dense at the moment. Now, this means another mask, and there isn't really one that can select this automatically with AI, so I'm just going to go a bit old school, create a new mask, and just use the brush. I don't think it needs to be terribly accurate. I can always fine tune it later, but if I just gradually brush over this area of the image, like so, that's that done. Now I can just increase the exposure. That's not far off. Might increase the whites just a little to make it a tiny bit less muddy. And you know what? I think that might be just about it. But I might try just one more thing, and that is to use a radial gradient just to relight this picture. It's one of my favorite tricks. If I just drag out an elliptical gradient in the foreground, I think about there will do it. Then I can just increase the exposure, and that just adds a little something to the lighting. I think maybe move it around a little to try and find the best spot. I think that might be it just there. And perhaps just a little clarity. Can never have too much clarity, not in black and white anyway. A little bit more exposure, and I think we're done. There's my finished image. Hope you like it.